Welcome to the Mystical Musings with Friends podcast. Join us in these fun, consciousness-expanding episodes hosted by myself, Kimberley Leite, where we discuss the world of the mystical and how this world can enhance your life experience, along with spiritual teachers and leaders from around the world. Join us as we explore subjects including the ascension and oneness teachings, law of attraction, channeling, spiritual healing, psychic explorations, and various other journeys within the mystical, esoteric, and metaphysical realms. It is a journey behind the veil of our reality, and it's a journey of awakening to the powerful being that you truly are. Hello everybody, and welcome to our next episode of Mystical Musings with Friends. So today we are joined again by friend Astrid, who is another fellow channel. Hi Astrid.
Hi Kimberly. Hi everyone.
Thanks for joining again. So today the theme will be talking about the Great Awakening. So where do we begin? The Great Awakening. Well, it's been happening for a while now, but 2020, of course, most of you can definitely feel what's going on at the moment, even if you're not, sensitive to energies as such from the kind of the spirit side of things. Just by seeing what's happening in our reality this year, obviously you can see something's happening, right? So it is the Great Awakening, and basically the Great Awakening is us remembering who we truly are as one, remembering our power. So, we as humans, we have gone through these cycles, throughout many different civilizations. A lot of you may be familiar with, golden ages of consciousness, right? So we are kind of heading into that transition. That's why we're all kind of awakening up to who we truly are. And there are many different, side effects to this. Some of them are wanted. Some of the effects may be perceived as unwanted because your reality shifting, you're seeing behind the veil, your maybe your sense of identity is being loosened, and you're starting to question who you truly are. So with the Great Awakening, there is many shifts within us. And, you could be really feeling the shifts, but someone next to you may not be feeling the shifts, but they are still going through that Great Awakening. We're just, depending on your sensitivity, you may feel it more than others. And depending if you're a light worker, you have basically wanted to, in a way, wake up before a lot of other people. So you can be the way shower for other people. So, we're in interesting times, and, it's basically a call to love. We are moving further from fear to love, even though fear and love are both dimensions of the one. They are both perfect. It's just obviously as humans, we wanted to expand through love and through oneness. So it's basically a move from that, seeing everything from duality and starting to see, our physical reality is actually an illusion, but it's an illusion we wanted to explore. And by embracing our illusion, we start to remember that we are powerful beings. We are actually source manifested. So we're in that transitional period. Sometimes we have flashes of our power, and sometimes we feel like we are victims and we feel powerless. So it's kind of in a transitional period. So it's, interesting times, but it's also very expansive times, and it's a very exciting time to be alive. So Astrid, what's your experiences in this time of Great Awakening? How have you felt them within yourself?
I feel it's very, very exciting. I feel like we're moving more towards being the authentic us. So it feels like everyone, either consciously or not consciously, everyone is moving more towards being who they are. So being more authentic, just letting go of the mask of pretending or being who everyone else wants you to be, just being more the real you. That's what it feels like. And also, I feel like both as individuals and society, we're moving more towards freedom, freedom to be who we are, freedom to be the authentic us, freedom to be different and unique. So, and also freedom to choose differently, to follow inspiration and choose to do these weird, to have different jobs, or to follow, live your dream. Just freedom to be different and to be unique. And also, of course, now with all these, I guess, the movements that are happening, Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement, and just more focus on your inner power, finding your own inner power and expressing that and creating from your own inner power, as opposed to allowing others to control you, to say, this is right, you should do this. Now we're saying, this is right for me, this is what I want. And so it feels like we're becoming more aware of our own power and using the freedom to create whatever we want. So uniquely the reality that we want. That's what it feels like to me. And it's exciting. But I have to say, I do feel like I'm sort of on the outside looking in, or that I'm just watching it happen, because I guess, like, maybe for you too, you've sort of, I guess, like, I feel we started that journey a little bit before everyone else. So I've had my battles, and it feels like now I'm watching the masses having those battles or those transitions. So it's more like I'm watching it happen out on the outside, and it's interesting to watch it. It's interesting to see it happening. But I don't really, for me, the triggers are not it's not what's going on in the outside. I just have more normal triggers, like between me and the people I love. So I would call it normal triggers, not the big ascension triggers. But I definitely feel the heightened energies, the intense energies, and especially after the solstice. I've had intense physical ascension symptoms, and also feeling foggy, and also time is so much, it's so different now. My experience of time is completely off. That's intensified, and also more of a detachment, I would say, for me the past week. So the solstice energies have really changed for me. So just the first 6 months of the year where it was exciting, but not a huge dramatic change for me. But then the last week after the solstice, or maybe 2 weeks, that has been really, really like dramatic for me, as in not dramatic in my outside reality, but it's just like I feel my shifts are huge, intense, dramatic. So that's been freaking amazing. I love these energies. I just love it. Yeah.
And that's actually a good point, is that those of us who are light workers and way showers, we've asked to be, woken up before, a lot of other people, because we are here, bringing the light, I guess. And we're not more like powerful than anybody else or more important than anybody else. It's basically that we are remembering more of who we are before other people, which means, when our world and our societies and those closest to us are maybe going through challenges, we can maybe shed some light about what's truly going on. We can assist them in their healing and help to ignite their light within them. I mean, we're all very highly advanced beings, and it's this time of great awakening where we are remembering this for yourself. And I love what you said, Astrid, about freedom, and it really boils down to that freedom. In our societies, maybe we feel controlled. Within our lives, we feel controlled. Control is something maybe we actually use to feel safe in the world. So it's, control and freedom are pretty much opposites. And it's time of great awakening where this control is being transmuted, and we are now remembering freedom, who we truly are. Now, as we go through these stages, like you said, you experienced, the energies of the solstice. And those of you who are watching this, you might be among the many who are also feeling these shifts. And, I've felt them too. I've gone through a lot of shifts, especially these last couple of years or so. It feels like it's been accelerated, so you're really feeling a lot of the ascension shifts. And for a lot of people, especially in the light worker community, the last, say, several years or so, or last few years, it might feel like all your abilities just come online all of a sudden, you know, all these abilities, all this awareness, and it might feel like it's come on all of a sudden, but it's not. All your life has been preparing for it. Just because of the time of Great Awakening, we are now being switched on, we're being activated, and this is why it feels like it's coming on all of a sudden. But to have this awareness, for us to move more into oneness and love, remembrance, basically our physical bodies have to catch up, right? And this is why we are feeling, you know, a lot of, you know, physical symptoms. So, you know, I've talked a lot about it this year, is that, you know, there was the bushfires, and then of course, you know, you've got the coronavirus happening, and, you know, now Black Lives Matter. So these are kind of global events, but it's helping the collective to purge. And actually it's a manifestation of the shifts that is actually occurring in the collective consciousness. As above, so below, as within, so without. We are one and the same. Our reality is a reflection of our consciousness, is a reflection of us. So as we, as a human collective, go through shifts, you're going to see that shifts in our reality. So this is a very big clue to you. If you're very curious about what's happening in society, that's your clue about what's happening to our consciousness. And we are tied together. We are one. So it's kind of interesting. And this purge, this is what like the beings of light like to call it. So it's kind of, we are transmuting the dimensions of us that's based in control and fear. I mean, you know, those dimensions are still perfect, but we have chosen to remember more of who we are. So to remember more of who we are, we need to transmute those dimensions and to accept them. They're not wrong. We just wanted to live more in a state of joy as a human being. For, you know, in higher truth, in oneness, all this neutral. But as a human, we wanted to have the experience of love manifested in our reality. And by, you know, using frequencies of love, that's how you transmute, you know, energies of fear. Fear is an illusion, and that's how you become more empowered. So it's interesting. I mean, I've gone through a very, you know, intense purging, and it's interesting, isn't it, Astrid? I don't know about you, but it's like, things I thought I worked on, you know, for many years. And it's like, wow, what the hell? It's like, it feels like you're going backwards, you know, and it might feel like you're going backwards, but we can never go backwards. It's just a wobble. And what is occurring is like, as we shift through dimensions, it's like we reach a new baseline. And as we reach a new kind of a dimension, it feels like we're at the bottom again, but it's not. We're just exploring another whole dimension. That's why it kind of feels like you go backwards at times. And, you know, it's all these programs that we've, even though they're very small, we still have them within our energetic field. So we are kind of purging these programs of fear and control that makes us limited. And our body has to, basically, it's coming to the surface. It's being literally purged from us. And this is why you've seen society the way it is, a lot of manifestation of what we perceive to be unwanted in our society, because our society is going through the purge as well, not just our consciousness, because it's connected. But, you know, it's the way you perceive, you know, these shifts. And, you know, for my experience and from talking to you and a lot of other people in spiritual communities, it appears that, you know, this purging phases is on its way out, so to speak. And now we're starting to remember more of oneness. And, you know, you're actually seeing this reflected in society. And another thing that is a kind of a symptom of the Great Awakening is being attached to, you know, conspiracy theories. You know, a lot of people might see, because I read through this myself a few years ago, and I recognized that was a sign of my awakening shift those years ago. And it's very, very common. People, when they start to awaken to who they truly are, they start looking, you know, behind the veil of physical reality, and they start to question their reality. So it's no coincidence that there were so many people in society that are questioning the governments, questioning, you know, 5G towers, or they're questioning this, questioning that, questioning institutions. And this is part of the Great Awakening. We're starting to see beyond, you know, our controlled reality, what we perceive to be our controlled reality. So it just depends on us and our inner work. That depends on if we get kind of like attached to that story, which is still based in fear, or we can accept that, explore it to such a point where we can recognize that it's still a story. If it's based on fear, it's still a story. It's all happening for us. Like, what about you, Astrid? Have you seen that? Like, have you been witness to like so much people being attached to kind of fear stories? I mean, I can see that it is a symptom, it is a sign of the awakening process. I mean, I went down that rabbit hole too, and many people do when they go through awakening shifts. It just depends on, you know, your soul work, on where you are with, you know, that. But I remember so many years ago, I too went down the rabbit hole and I started to question this, question that. And if you start in the rabbit hole, just keeps going, just keeps going. There's no end to the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where, you know, I went to another stage of a great awakening, and I realized that they're just stories in my illusion. That's just a dimensional experience, you know. And it's, even though maybe there's things that are perceived to be going on that we perceive to be don't want, it's still an aspect of the illusion of physical reality. So we can actually go beyond that and accept it. So in a way, there is a lot of people still in fear because they're attached to kind of those few stories. But on the other hand, it's very encouraging to see that, you know, there are a lot of people who are awakening up. They're attached to these kind of things. And that's actually a sign of the Great Awakening. So it's just interesting how the Great Awakening is being manifested in society.
Yeah. And like you said, so for me, I haven't really noticed the conspiracy theory thing, but for me, it's been the victim thing, because that's a part of my vibration. I've been seeing myself as a victim for almost all my life. So that is what I attract in my outside reality. And it's so weird how, well, I guess it's not weird, it's the reflection, but I see so many people in my reality who still perceive themselves to be victims. And so that is what I attract. And I notice it's almost as if I'm allergic to it. I feel that, you know, it's clear that they see themselves as victims, and I notice myself getting triggered. I react, and I just want to scream to them, you're not a victim, you're free, choose, get yourself out of it. But I also understand it's so difficult when you're in that feeling, in that belief, because it feels so true. And it's like you said, what is happening outside in our reality is just a reflection of what everyone is going through within them. And I recognize, you know, that desperation of feeling like a victim, I recognize that in myself. And I think it's good when it's that desperation, because then at least you're becoming aware that you see yourself as a victim, and you're starting to fight it, struggle it. That's when the desperation comes in. And that's one of the stages before getting out of that victim mentality. So that's what I've been seeing. And it's, you know, you talked about how these topics come back, our issues, they come back to us. And it's, for me, it's also that victim thing, and where I thought, oh, I've dealt with this, I worked through this issue, and what now? It's coming back. What is this? Did I fail? But that's not what it is. It's like this upward spiral, where as you ascend or shift into higher dimensions, you raise your vibration, you shift into higher dimensions, and then the spiral allows you to come back to this same issue that you have worked on previously, so that you can see it from a higher perspective, because you raised your vibration, and so that you can see it from a higher perspective, which allows you to learn more about yourself, because that's what all our limiting beliefs and fears are doing. They're helping us to understand more about ourselves, about the illusion that we have created as our lives. So the illusion that we have built our lives around, for instance, being a victim or being helpless, being powerless, that is the illusion that many of us carry. And so through looking at these topics or these issues, looking at our fears, we learn more about who we are, and we get insights. If you dare to dive into the fear, to feel the fear and really feel your emotions, that's how you get these wonderful insights about what you have been creating and why you believe this way, who you really are. Because all this, our feelings are not just feelings, they're information. It's like an energy wave of information that wants to flow through you. But when we resist the fear, it gets stuck within us. So if you can allow yourself to feel the emotion, feel the fear, that's when you gain insights. That's when you get all this information that is helping you to raise your vibration, helping you to ascend, to move through the pain, to see that you are stronger than the pain, that there is no fear that is anywhere near as strong and powerful as you are. And so when you can learn to let go of being afraid of the fear, that's when you really find your core, find your center, discover how powerful you are. And so So many people come and want to be like, how do I learn to feel worthy, or how do I learn to manifest what I want? What do I do in order to be that power? And it's actually more about, you don't have to do or learn anything. You just have to let go of doing, or stop fearing, stop doing what you're doing currently. So just pick away or pull away the layers of fear, and you'll naturally manifest everything you want. But you have to let go of the fear first. And it's just, I'm getting excited here. It's just, but it's so wonderful to watch people on that journey, to see them letting go or daring to feel their feelings. And suddenly the real person starts coming through. You start just blooming into the real you. And it's just so exciting to watch, really.
It is. And, you know, we are all on this journey and we all have fears. And, you know, people might think, okay, well, the Great Awakening, we're going to gain enlightenment. But the thing is, we are already enlightened, you know. We've been conditioned that you have to be special to be enlightened, or you have to do certain activities to be enlightened. But the truth is, we are already enlightened, you know. We've just forgotten our enlightened state, how powerful we truly are. So the Great Awakening is literally just removing the layers of amnesia, right? And to do that, I mean, it does call for us to do soul work, you know, and it's not always easy, but like you said, it's about, you know, having courage and diving into it. And when you can dive into it, knowing that fear is just an illusion, and, you know, you can accept it, because it's not wrong if you have fear. It's not wrong if you're in victim mentality. It's just a dimension of you, and all is perfect. You know, in the multiverse, you know, there are dimensions of fear and love. We exist in dimensions of fear and love. And as we remember more of oneness, you know, remember that all is both in the same, and we can accept it. And then we actually integrate those parts of us within ourselves, and we move closer to oneness, remembrance. So it's not about, you know, when we do this soul work, it's not about like, oh, I don't want to have this negative emotion, or I want to push away this fear, or just think positive thoughts. It's not about that. It's actually about embracing it. And by practicing acceptance, that's a frequency of love. And then when you can do that, you can even be grateful for it. And that increases the frequency, that transmutes it from fear to love, and that unites those dimensions within you. So then you then move closer to oneness. By you doing your soul work, you actually activate your divine blueprint. And that's when you might feel like all of a sudden you have all these, you know, special abilities, you know, being activated all of a sudden, all this wisdom, these inner knowings. It's because it's already been within you. You're just vibrationally ready to remember that for yourself. Sort of like your vibration is a key to your divine blueprint. So once you get to a certain vibration, you kind of unlock that, and then you have more of the remembrance of who you are. Becomes released into your conscious awareness. So that's the whole process. And this is literally what the Great Awakening is, you know, and there's a lot more people are conscious of it, are conscious of this journey. And we are going through a lot of these shifts, and intense shifts, because our physical bodies, basically, as we integrate, you know, further energetic technologies in our energetic structure, because obviously you might see we're human, like physical structures, but obviously we're energy. And as we go through Great Awakenings, we basically, you know, we activate certain aspects of us, because we as a collective are now ready for it, you know. And there's a lot of science about, you know, how we do have dormant DNA. But now, you know, it's parts of our dormant DNA is actually now being activated to help with the next stage of, like, you know, human evolution. So those of you who are sensitive, you might feel these new energies, you know, these parts of you being switched on within you. So your body sometimes has to adjust to it, and that's why sometimes you have physical symptoms, or you might feel very tired, you might feel feeling high. There's a range of different emotions, feelings, purges, ascension symptoms. So it's all part of this shift, because we wanted it. We wanted to remember who we are, and it does feel like it's accelerating. This is why 2020 has been a full-on year, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you do see in society, a lot of people are in fear over it. But then obviously, if you've done your soul work, you can see it from a point of excitement. There's nothing to fear. You know, people who go through suffering, they're going through it for a reason. And but we are one. So if you see someone suffering, you know, that's actually you reflected. So, you know, in oneness teaching, sometimes it can be like, okay, I'm one, and then maybe you don't want to feel connected to that person, and that's fine, but understand that that other person who's in suffering is also you. So if you can recognize that what you perceive as unwanted is actually all aspects of you, you then start to get more into a habit and an awareness that you can love everything and accept everything, because everything that you see is us. See as you know what I mean? So you start to then feel more connected to who you truly are. And no matter what's happening in our society, we are so highly advanced. I know a lot of, when you channel, I'm sure when you channel, it comes through you as well. When I've channeled other channels, say the same things. We're so highly advanced. And when I've channeled Lakeshma's from Atlantis, she always talks about how this is the time of the greatest awakening ever for the human collective consciousness. We have gone through great awakenings, the most famous ones, for instance, like, golden ages of Egypt, for instance. But in Atlantis, she always talks about how it was the time of the first great awakening, and she talks about how it parallels what we're going through now. And you might think, especially those of you who are aware of your multidimensional lives, and, you might be aware of other civilizations. You're like, oh, they're more advanced than us, and who I am living in that world is more advanced. But it's actually an illusion. Even though it might not reflect in our society, as a consciousness, we are so highly advanced right here and now in this dimension, and it's because we have this we're in this master game playing with amnesia. This is why we're so advanced, because we're actually exploring through these levels of amnesia. And it's actually very, very exciting. I mean, what's to come? I don't know, Astrid, when you've done your channelings as well, but, basically it kind of has a pattern. This is what I've been told. And, there will be, society events, mass events for the collective, which has happened. The bushfires, coronavirus, Black Lives Matter is happening all over the world. It's allowing the collective to heal and to move together in unity consciousness. They are coming together more. You're seeing this. I know there might be, things that may seem to be unwanted, like violence and so forth, but you see that as a result of everything that's happened, we are coming more together. We are, wanting to connect more to our family, our friends. We're starting to question what's more important in life. We are coming more together in unity. And, it's very exciting, because I say when the world, when the majority is united, then the next stage comes.
Yeah.
You know what they are? Little ETs. How exciting!
I'm going to be so pissed off if they don't come to me. I'm going to be like, you idiots, I've been here shining all the time. But yeah, but you know what, with the demonstrations and all of that, I know many people are saying, like, how can this be the ascension and the awakening when there's so much violence and negativity? But the thing is, these feelings have been within us for decades. It's not that this is suddenly people feel anger. No, all that violence, all that anger and sadness and grief that's coming out to the surface now, that's being expressed, that has been buried within us. It has been carried and buried within us, and we have been feeling that pain, hiding it within us. And it's just so much better and healthier now to express it, so that you can allow it to leave you, so that you don't go around like a walking wound and carry it all inside. And it's just allowing these feelings to come out and be expressed now. That's a sign of, being healthy. That's a good sign. That's a sign of cleansing and healing and releasing. So whatever is coming out and being expressed, good, good for you for allowing your feelings to be expressed. And just allow it to come to the surface so that you can start to heal. Because the worst thing is to keep all those feelings inside of you and not allowing it to be healed. And I'm not saying go out and, vandalize whatever. I'm saying these feelings have been within us, and you need to start to accept that people need to be allowed to express them. So even if it upsets you to see people, ruining or, breaking things outside, just imagine what that violence feels like when it's kept inside your own body. How much more painful it is to keep all that inside of you. And yes, we are some people are ruining, houses or material objects, but it's just things. It's just things. I mean, let's not get worked up. It's just things. So, I mean, it's intense what's going on, but it's also just so exciting because there's these huge energies in motion. All these energies that are coming to us now are also being expressed through us. And it's just fantastic to see all these energies being expressed and sort of moving between us. And it's so exciting. And I just can't wait for aliens to come. I know it's weird to say it, but the weird thing is, so for me, I can totally imagine, I can see it, like, not see it, you know, but like I can totally imagine aliens coming, and it feels like a wonderful natural thing. But then to imagine my normal friends suddenly becoming interested in spirituality and believing in this stuff, I cannot imagine that. So like for me, aliens coming is easier to imagine than to imagine my normal friends suddenly becoming spiritual. So that's something that's so difficult to wrap my brain around, that, you know, my normal friends, my mother, can become interested in this. But at the same time, I'm watching, so like on Instagram, I'm following all these fitspos and, you know, what I would say normal people, where their main focus is not spirituality, but maybe exercising or food or whatever. And they are all presenting the same information that you and I are giving out, this information about oneness, about love, about acceptance, about believing in yourself, about being authentic, about facing your fears. They're presenting the same thing, just in their own words and their own information, sort of in their own way of saying it. So it's being represented or presented through fitness related things or in cooking, but they're basically saying the same message. They're just not saying it's spiritual, but it's the same message. And it's so wonderful to see that everyone is starting to present the same messages about oneness, about being authentic. And it's just in different ways of saying it so that you can reach different groups of people. So you don't need to call yourself a spiritual, but it's the same information coming out there. And it's just, that's just another proof of what is really going on.
It is. And, you know, you get caught up in this whole thing, you know, these spiritual communities, and, you know, think, oh, okay, so I'm in my, you know, awakening journey, which means I can only hang around other people who are so-called awakened. And I understand that because, you know, when I from personal experience, and I do see that in the spiritual communities, and it's fine, it's perfect, it's part of the awakening process. I myself, so many years ago, when I went through a stage of awakening, as we go through many different stages, you see, and I remember when I started to awaken, I'm like, how is this going? How am I going to be with other people who are not into this? Like, how am I going to have conversations, or how am I supposed to, you know, have conversations when they believe in opposite things than me? But once you can understand a deeper level of spirituality, once you can understand that they are all aspects of you, it doesn't actually matter what, you know, it doesn't matter at all, because they're all giving you spiritual lessons. They're just doing it in a, what we call an unawakened state. You know, my master teacher is actually my husband, and he is not into this stuff. I mean, he's into it at a certain level, but, you know, he does fitness, and he does it in his own way, you know what I mean, like well-being, but not in this kind of real spiritual kind of, or channeling, this kind of stuff. He's not really into that, and it's 100% fine. We don't talk about that stuff, but how he is, I get most of my spiritual lessons from him, because I need someone. We basically, you know, if you're have awareness about who you are, you want people in your life to trigger your blind spots. You know what I mean? You want people to do that for you. And everything is a spiritual conversation. Once you go deeper and deeper and deeper, you understand that you talking about a sport is a spiritual conversation. And you might go, how is talking about sport a spiritual conversation? Oh, communities are coming together. You know, there's, you know, the joy factor, there's uniting countries, uniting societies, uniting teams. You know, there's so many layers of spirituality in everything, you know. So it's basically what you think in physical reality is just an illusion, and people in our reality is assisting us to explore this. So once you can kind of be the observer and understand that absolutely everything is a spiritual lesson. It does not matter if you're around people who are so-called awake or non-awake, you know. They're all highly advanced, and we are all equally highly advanced as one another. Even though, like me and Astrid were talking about these things, you know, we're not more advanced or more awake than other people. It's just that because of our soul contracts, we are here to be, you know, a way shower for others. You know, it doesn't mean that someone else who spends their life, I don't know, doing something that it's, I don't know, doing an activity that has nothing to do with spirituality, that's still just as important. You know, they're exploring spirituality in a different way, you know, and they're just as highly advanced. Everyone is just highly advanced as each other. It's just in our perception, we might perceive that, oh, those people are not awake, so they're maybe not as advanced as us. But it's not true. It's just that, you know, they are playing a vital role for us to trigger us. And this is what's happening as well with what's happening in our society at large, in our world. There are people that play, I guess, the perpetrator, you know, and what about the cop? You know, as tragic as it is, what's been happening in, you know, certain communities, what we perceive to be tragic, it took that one cop. I mean, it was a build-up of all many years, obviously, but it was kind of a straw, and it took that situation, what happened, to ignite this worldwide movement. And you think it's by accident. You know, it's part of his soul contract, you know, to play that role. So once you can understand that he was highly advanced, the victim and the perpetrator is the one and the same, playing roles for each other. And this is with everything in our life. It's just that because we chose amnesia, we wanted to play here in this playground of life, with some people being awakened, some people not being awakened.
Yeah.
And because of that, they get to play certain roles and trigger our blind spots. And, you know, this fear that we feel, it's basically a catalyst for us to go deeper within and to unite in love, to remember more of who we are. Because how often it is, I know, Astrid, your personal story, you know, you've had this, you know, you've experienced, you know, dark night of the soul and depression for many years of your life. I also experienced depression, and a lot of people out there go through dark night of the soul or depression. And, you know, it kind of makes you have to go inwards, right? To strengthen yourself, to empower yourself. And that when you find your power, that's when your life changes. So, but basically you needed that depression to go inwards. So everything that happens in our life, it happens for us to go inwards. Yeah. So, and that's just how it is in society. If you see things in society that you perceive as unwanted, then, well, it's just a catalyst. You know, that's just a reflection of this shift that we're going through.
Yeah. And it's also, you don't need to be like this, I don't know, like this advanced spiritual being to create these immense changes. Like you said, with the cop and George Floyd, right? That was his name. So two fairly normal human beings. None of them were like this big spiritual public figure, but they have their actions created huge waves of love and light in the world. And just two fairly normal people who were just living their lives created this huge counterwave of love and light, and it's spreading all over the world. Two normal people, and it's just, this is what all of us can do in these normal everyday events, that suddenly we do this one thing that is, of course, part of our soul contract, that it's no coincidence that we do these things, but we go on living our lives, and we can make a huge impact on everyone else. And you don't have to be this great, wonderful healer or channeler or spiritual teacher, whatever, to make these changes. It's every one of us are affecting and impacting everyone else every day just by being us. And even if we perceive ourselves to be small and insignificant, we impact those around us in such powerful ways. And, you know, I impact my mother, and she impacts her brother, and then he impacts his children, and it's this wave that's spreading all over. And you can't see what your actions or your words are going to create tomorrow in the rest of the world. But it's this whole, the butterfly effect? I don't know what it's called, but everything that we do and say and feel and think creates a huge impact on the rest of us, because like you said, we're one. So there's no separation. So everything I do or say or think or feel is also shared with everyone else, with all other humans. And that is why each little thing that I do has the potential to create a huge change, for better or worse, for everyone outside of us. And even if I do something that's perceived to be a negative or an unwanted, that is going to change or create the counter wave of love that's going to be even bigger, because that is just when we live in this society and this universe, this beingness, that where all is love, love is always going to be the more powerful source. So everything that we do that is perceived to be unwanted, like you said, it's just the nuance of love. It's still going to create a wanted effect, an effect that comes from love. So everything that you do is always going to create a counter wave of love if you're doing something wanted or bad, whatever, however you choose to judge it. But love is always going to be the result. So it's like we can't fail, we can't do anything wrong, because it's always going to be, the result is always going to be love. And so we keep raising the love energy in a way. We keep creating more love energy simply by being, just by being. We keep creating more love. And it's just, I'm so excited to see what's going to happen and how we're going to evolve. And also when we start, more and more people start remembering, oh my God, how's that going to be when more and more people start remembering, start feeling their worthiness, start living and expressing that worthiness? When more of us start to know that we are worthy and good enough, oh my God, what can we create? It's exciting.
It is exciting. And like, we're nearly on the tipping point now. You know, we've been in this transition for a while, and this transition is felt. This is why sometimes you do feel powerless, and then at times you feel powerful, because we're in this transitional period. But it's about accepting everything in our reality. And, you know, just by us living and breathing, we are affecting the collective consciousness. So you don't actually have to go out and do anything, or, you know, overtly go and change the world, because guess what? We are changing the world by going inwards and doing our own inner work, our spiritual work, because we are all connected. So if you want to assist in this great awakening, all you need to do is go inwards. And then with that, yes, you might have guidance or inspiration to do an action step. But if you don't, all you need to do is go inwards, work on your frequency, on your vibration. This is all we have to do. And, you know, it is really exciting because, you know, basically we're in what they call a dimensional vortex, right? And we have what we call as individual dimensions within that. So, you know, we're exploring our reality uniquely because of the dimension we're in. It's kind of like this playground. We're on this kind of level of a playground, humanity. And once the majority is in more love than fear, and when we're ready, and also relations to our soul contracts, then we kind of move the whole collective to another kind of vortex dimension where we get to explore a whole new world of dimensions within that. So we're basically on that tipping point now. So we've already, you know, moved to a more oneness dimension. Oneness, remembrance, we've already been one. But it's we as humans, we are still attached to fear, to duality. So all we need to do is let go of it. We're already oneness, you know, we already have that awareness within us. So it's just us. You don't have to gain anything. It's actually unlearning. You just have to let go of these limited conditions, these programs, these limitations we put on ourselves. And, you know, and at times it can be a bit jarring because we want to have a felt sense of security. This is why you want to control a lot of things in our life, you know, but once you can let go of that control and not see what's going to happen tomorrow, yes, it might be a bit scary because we've been conditioned to fear the unknown in a way. You know, we want to plan our lives so we know what's going to happen, but the beauty is not knowing. The beauty is basically surrendering to the power of who we are, because when we plan our life, make goals, you know, to have this sense of security, which is false, you know, because we are human, depending on our sense of self-worth and our vibration, how much we love ourselves, you know, we might only perceive we're capable of here, you know. I don't think I'm good enough, I'm not worthy enough, so I'm only going to plan to here because that's the level of worthiness I have. But what if you were to let go of your control, let go of, you know, how you live your life and just live in the moment and just act on guidance, and you'll find that the universe, which is actually you manifested, will guide you on a path, and it will take you far beyond your human comprehension. Like, I'm sure, Astrid, I'm sure you did not imagine you would be a channel, right?
No.
I don't know about me, but there's no way I thought I was going to be a channel or this kind of thing, you know. But if I was to be like, oh yeah, you know, I have to be worthy to be a channel, who am I to be a channel? I didn't. It's just, it was one step at a time, and we were kind of shown our life purpose. And this is what it is. It's about letting go and surrendering to who we are, to the universe. Because guess what? The universe is us. We are safe, you know. All that is us. We are showing ourselves the way. We just have to let go of that resistance. And this is the Great Awakening. It's a process of unlearning. It's not a process of gaining, because we are already enlightened beings. We are divine beings. And, you know, it's in preparation for the stage of a Great Awakening. Like, we needed to go through, you know, that, you know, when all those bushfires happened here in Australia, I saw how the whole world came together. You know, because, you know, obviously I'm from Australia, I'm in Australia, and I could see it was amazing. Like, the whole world was like showing so much compassion to Australia. And it's like that love energy helped to unite more of us together. And then, of course, the next stage happened, the coronavirus. A lot of people were in fear, but that was just a purge. They were releasing what no longer serves them. But in saying that, a lot of people are called to connect with people that didn't connect, you know, to before. And, you know, a lot of people couldn't work, so they're connecting more to their families and, you know, exploring their passions. So you can see how we're uniting closer and closer together. So you can tell that they are preparing us, right?
Yeah.
Because if we hadn't done this work, what would happen if you were to look up in the sky and you see spaceships? A lot of people would freak out, right? I'm sure people will freak out when this does happen.
Yeah.
But you can see that this is all preparing us. So because we've done so much purging, right? Because basically we are, as a collective, living more in love than fear. So when they do come, even though there was going to be a portion of our population who maybe is in fear, there'll be enough of us in love and acceptance where, you know, we can fully embrace it. You know, it's all happening in divine time. Yes, they're already here. It's just that in an overt scale, we're not aware of it. I mean, I don't know about, because you're in Norway, I don't know how it is with the media over there, but even in Australia, there's, I don't know, this year there've been so many like news clips about, you know, sightings and on the mainstream news. I'm like, this is very exciting. They really are preparing us, you know. And what's happened so far, especially in 2020, it's really making us kind of question who we are and what we're capable of. And it's all in preparation for this next stage. And you know what? This stage of Great Awakening, when we're actually aware on a mass scale that we're not alone in the universe, this is a pattern that has occurred throughout many different civilizations. And it's a pattern. It's happened in Atlantis, happened in Egypt, the so-called gods of Egypt, the so-called, you know, gods of all these great civilizations. Guess who they were? They were ETs. So, you know, maybe they've come in different forms so they can be more accepted in that time. But it's a normal, actually, it's something to be scared of. You know, I know there's been some condition, we've been conditioned, a lot of Hollywood movies and so forth, like they're going to come and invade us and all that kind of thing. But they're already here assisting us from perspective of love. They are us. And basically they have a vested interest, because as we expand, they expand, because we're all in this together. We are one, right? So it's like all of this is preparing us. So because obviously, even though like you and me believe in aliens, I channel aliens, you know what I mean? But it's another thing to, even for me, to feel them and to see them like not non-physically. If there was a, you know, a manifested physical ET standing in front of you, it would be jarring, probably even to me, because it's like, okay, it's all good to channel it, communicate and, you know, see it on that level. But when it's a physical manifestation, like whether they are going to come in that physical sense, I'm guessing they are, because they're basically going to come on our level of understanding of our dimensional existence, right? So, you know, it might be jarring. So it's about being a set of acceptance for all conditions. So when it actually happens, we're not going to be that fearful. And yes, we're going to question who we are even more. But it's going to help us as a one race. It's going to help us to all come together as humanity, you know, because now there's proof that, you know, because obviously throughout all of our timelines, there's always been wars, right? But when we start to, when we realize that we are not alone in the universe, guess what humanity does? They're going to come even more together. So this is another catalyst. It's another wave of moving to oneness remembrance. And it happens in all the civilizations. And we are being prepared for that right now. So whether you believe in aliens, you don't believe in it, that's okay. It's, it basically is up to us on our vibration as a collective when they're going to show overtly. They're already here if you didn't know already. But that's going to be the next stage. So, I don't know about you, Astrid, with the information of you channel, but basically me and other people that channel communicate with them, basically it's going to be in our lifetime. I mean, that can always change, but it's going to come soon. So be prepared.
Yeah. It's weird for me because I've been getting the message probably like you at least for 6 months. So I've been expecting them this whole year. Like, are they going to come now? Are they going to come now? And then it was Corona, and I'm like, no. Then now they're going to come. And then Black Lives Matter, and I'm like, now they're going to come. So I'm like almost over it. Like, show up already. I was expecting them this summer, and now they're still not here, because it's weird with this whole time thing. You get messages, channeled messages, it's going to be soon. And I mean, for whoever I'm channeling, for them 2 years could be soon. For me, soon means in 2 weeks time. But I'm also understanding better, because I can't believe that half of 2020 is already behind us. It's insane. It's like with the Corona, everything slowed down, and we were able to live more, most of us were able to live more quiet or slow lives. And for me, it seems like everything has just speeded up. I don't know. Everything is so much quicker now. And these first 6 months have just gone by so quickly. It's difficult for me to be aware that we're in July already. It feels like I'm still in February, March. It's insane how quick time has gone by. And it's even difficult for me to remember what day it is anymore, because I keep thinking, okay, so for us, today is Thursday for both of us. And I keep feeling like it's Wednesday. And that's what it feels like for me every day. I still get the days messed up, because in my mind, time passes at a different rate than it does outside of me. So it's difficult to be aware or to be conscious of what day and what week and month it is, because it feels like time is moving at a much quicker rate than it was last year and previously in my life. And it really feels as it is. I'm not making it up. It feels as if time is moving at a quicker rate than it usually does. But in my mind, it's also moving at a different rate. So time outside of me is moving at a different rate than time inside of my head. And then also having these messages, oh, they're coming soon, it will be happening soon. It's like 3 different time zones all in my reality. And so it's just, for me personally, it's pushing me to let go of the idea of time, and pushing me to let go of the attachment to time, to having things happen at a specific time, because I can't control it. I can't make things happen at a specific time. And also, when I have 3 different experiences of time going on in my reality, it's too much. So it's helping me to let go of the attachment to time and to having things happen at a specific time. But have you experienced anything like that with the time?
Yeah, actually, because I've just gone through some ascension symptoms over the last couple of weeks, and this week actually there's been a couple of days where like I felt tired, like I needed to rest. But then when I'm awake, I'm so productive. It's like I'm able to do so many things in a shorter amount of time than I did before. I was like, what? Usually that takes me a lot longer, and all of a sudden I'm like, what? I'm getting so much done. It's just like I'm flowing through time more effortlessly. Yes. But I think that's just part of my frequency, and I've expanded, so it's matching to that kind of dimension. And time is an illusion. We're attached to that as human beings, and there's a thing called divine time, and this is really the real time. And in divine time, this aligns to soul contracts. So it depends on your contracts, depends on when your vibration is ready for certain things to happen, and the collective, such as, you know, the ETs coming down, but being known, you know, overtly in our society. Basically, that's going to happen in divine time, and it's up to the collective when we are vibrationally ready. So it's not like, oh, it's going to happen on this date because of this date. It's actually up to us. So it's and all these kind of things, you know. And sometimes, I don't know about you, Astrid, that like sometimes I see, you know, future realities. You know, this is going to happen, this is going to be happening. And then I get excited, but then I have to be, okay, I have to let go of that, because there was, you know, you can't truly read the future. There were so many future dimensions that we perceive to be the future, and it's not written in stone yet. It's basically, we live in the multiverse. So who we are, like me and Astrid, like Astrid, you live here, and then you live another, like, so many lives as a human, but different conditions, different timelines, you know. And I've seen glimpses of that. For me, I'm human, I'm living in the same suburb, yet I'm doing something like extraordinary different, like a different job, or, you know, all these kind of crazy things. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I learned that I'm actually seeing a dimension. I'm seeing my multidimensional self. So we exist in the multiverse as human, but also the multiverse, you know, in other worlds, another universe. Like it just, you know, like we can't actually comprehend who we truly are. So yeah, but it's just, you know, the future, those of you who are sensitive and see glimpses of the future, we can get attached. And even, you know, imagine you're being like, for me, with the abilities I have, I'm actually shown what's going to happen in the future, like, but usually not for, it depends, it's like mostly for myself. I mean, it does happen in sessions time and time, you know, depending, but it's interesting. And I'm like, oh wow, I get really excited, and I'm like, no, it might not. I have to detach from it. And I find, like, I've had these like, I know what's going to happen, say it includes me. If it includes me and other people, I get like a strong message, and I actually see it, and I'm like, oh, it's going to happen this way. And then I find that it actually does, but it maybe is a different way. You know, because when you actually view a dimension, it changes again. So it's like, it's like, and then it's like, so yeah. So even if we get, those of you who receive messages, all these abilities that you have, we still have to detach from it. You know, and it's sometimes really hard, because you get excited, like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I've seen it, and it's like, still have to detach, because it can change. Because our future is not written in stone. Yes, we have soul contracts, but the way we explore them can be unique and different, you know. So it's just about divine time, and everything's going to happen as opposed to, I mean, I don't know about you, Astrid, but, you know, for me, I've really had to, you know, patience. I've had to really have patience, because they're guiding me to do this, to do that, and I'm following it. But then I expected things to happen, and they don't happen. I'm like, okay. So they're really helping me to embrace, you know, divine time. And sometimes you can be a bit impatient, because, okay, already, I'm doing this work. So when is this stuff going to be manifested? When am I going to, you know, feel this powerful being that you say I am? And however, you know, but it's all in divine time, because of your unique soul contracts. This is why everyone goes through the shift differently, why everyone remembers who they are in a different pace. It's not because they're more advanced than you, not because they're doing more work than you. Yes, you all have to do work, but it also relates to your soul contracts, why you came here to explore. So you have to kind of like go of attachments to when things are going to show up for you, or when you're going to have that aha enlightenment moment. It's going to happen. It's just have patience, and also detach from, you know, attachments of other people. Like, don't compare yourself to other people who are on this journey, because everyone's journey is very unique. Even me and Astrid, we're both channels, but we are still so different, and we're still going to do it on different paths because we're different. And even if you have one of your abilities that come online, it's still going to be different. The way Astrid channels is different to how I channel, and different how we both teach. So even if it's a similar trait or similar ability, it's actually very different, because everyone is unique. We're all unique aspects of source. So it's about embracing your uniqueness, who you truly are, and embracing this journey, no matter how long it's going to take. Because even though it might feel like, you know, you're not going at a fast pace, or you're not going anywhere at all, like you're stuck, you're not really stuck. It's just an illusion of time. Just continue to love your journey, every aspect of your journey. And I know for light workers, it can be common where we get frustrated with our journey. You know, it's like, oh, you feel anger, you feel sadness, or whatever you do, and then you kind of judge yourself. I know better. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I was complaining. I know better not to complain. Oh, I know better to do this. And then we create further resistance within us. So it's about accepting that those aspects of us still exist in the multiverse, and we're going to visit them. We're in a transitional period. It's about accepting and loving all those aspects. So when you can do that, you unite more to who you truly are, and then you remember more of who you are, and then guess what? You're igniting the collective consciousness to remember who they are. Every single breath you take. So all you need to do is focus inwards. Everything that you see in your reality is a reflection of you. Yeah. So exciting time to be alive. And, you know, there's a great, you know, place to finish our session today. Astrid, is there anything else you'd like to share before we finish today on this subject?
Savor the moment, because I've felt that frustration, that impatience, and they've told me, there's a reason why you're doing this in a slow way right now. It is because you wanted that journey. You want to savor the moment. You want to savor the journey. You don't really just want to be at the end. You want to enjoy the moment. Yes. So savor, even if you're impatient and frustrated, savor the moment, savor the journey. That's what it's about. That's what you want. So just enjoy the seemingly slow ride, because that's what you wanted.
It is. And because what's going to happen when you get there, your, you know, neutrality, it's not going to be fun. What's fun for us is because we get to explore these different dimensions within ourselves, different dimensions of us. Yeah. You know, it's actually fun to explore through amnesia. We kind of want to be at that point where all is love and all is one. But yes, we will get there eventually as a collective. But on the way, we're here for a reason. We're here to play and have fun. This is a game. It may not feel like a game, but it is a game of expansion. And it's through love, remember more of who you are. Wonderful. Astrid, where can people find you?
Patreon, that is where I do most. Astrid Halvorsen channeling on Patreon. There, I do daily messages, daily video messages. So most of my work is there. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Podbean, Astrid Halvorsen channeling. So yes.
Wonderful. And those of you who want more information about me, I'm also over on Patreon. You can find all the information on my website, beingsofthelight.com. Check it all out. I've also got another podcast as well, YouTube sessions also. It's all there on the website. So yeah, check out Astrid. Most of you already know her by now, but if you don't, go check her out.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining again, Astrid. This is a fun conversation as always. So listeners, people watching, listening to this, go play and have fun. Until next time, love and light. Farewell. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mystical Musings with Friends. To find more info about myself and how to reach out to me about this podcast, please see the episode details. Remember, you are never alone on your journey, for you are one with all that is.